Good morning. My name is Ali Batty. I am a speech and language therapist who specialises in AAC, which is augmentative and alternative communication. So, augmentative meaning to augment or support speech, or alternative meaning an alternative to speech. So let's get started. We're going to talk about multimodal communication, and I will explain that in a moment. We're going to talk about how to introduce AAC with a child and how to personalize AAC so that it's more meaningful to your child. And there will be some basic editing demos in this presentation. So the underlying principles are we presume potential. So I make the analogy like AAC is a bit like a piano. We wouldn't put a piano in front of a child and expect them to be able to play a piece of music, but we would look out for playing with the piano and experimenting, and then us maybe lightly showing how they might use it. So there is a lot of learning involved in AAC, and I would look at this as it's a lifetime of learning ahead. We want to make it fun, so very much play-based, use it alongside your child's favourite activities. We're going to model how to use it without any expectation that your child is going to do anything in return. So we're not sort of prompting them and getting them to say specific things, because often children will switch off when they sense that we have an agenda. We're going to go with the flow, which I'm sure as parents you are already pretty good at, but we're going to watch what the child does and go with that. We're going to personalise the AAC and try and think about what language this particular child finds appealing. And I'll expand upon that later. We want to go beyond requesting. So we're not just doing that sort of, if any of you have had experience of your child using PECs, they often are encouraged to do the I want, whether it is I want a biscuit or I want raisin or stretch man. We want them to be able to communicate much more than just requesting. We will explore and make mistakes, and that is a great thing because it encourages our children to explore and make mistakes as well, and that's how we learn. We're going to look out for literacy, which gives them that potential for unlimited vocabulary and grammar development. So what is multimodal communication? If you think about nonverbal communication, it includes things like body proximity or how close we are to somebody. So with familiar people, we often are closer to them. It includes our body language, use of eye contacts, which may not be the same with neurodivergent individuals, and we wouldn't ever be prompting eye contact. We would respect their natural either preference for not making eye contact or different patterns of eye contact. It encompasses facial expressions, pointing or reaching, use of gestures, use of vocalizations, tone of voice. I think I've done facial expressions twice there. Speech is obviously the most common that we think of. Writing, texting, emailing, and increasingly we also use things like reels and memes to communicate. I certainly communicate with my young adult children using Instagram reels. But also in the neurodivergent population, we'd also be looking out for things like the way they play. So in my work with children, I'm kind of looking at what do they like to do when they're playing? Do they like connecting things together, building? Are they exploring trajectories by chucking things? All of those are potentially communicative and a way for us to connect with them and enjoy being together. Stimming is a really important part of communication in autism, especially, but it may be ADHD too. Body movements, language gestalts. You may not have heard that term gestalts before. You may have come across the term echolalia, and we're now understanding that echolalia is really meaningful and often a starting point for children with communication. So if your child uses say scripts from Peppa Pig, or they sing song lyrics, and or they repeat what you've said or someone else has said wholesale. Just consider that is communication too, and that is meaningful for that child. There might also be action gestalts or a routine, a set routine that they often act out, and that again is communicative. They might love to arrange objects, either lining them up or collecting them together. They might use drawings, they might like taking photos, maybe watching things on YouTube and rewinding and rewatching it again and again. They may have a love for songs. They might use sound effects. So I've worked with a child who used Thomas Toots to communicate. And they might use spelling with different materials, so spell out things with Play-Doh or Lego, or actually be able to use a keyboard. And I see all of these modes of communication as a magical mixture. So we want children to use this mixture of modes. They all contribute to how we connect. So when we introduce AAC, and we're thinking about iPads mainly today, we will model some language on the iPad, but we'll also model spoken language. And what I mean by that is we might say something like, oh, put it on, using the AAC, but we might then say that phrase as well with that rich intonation. And we'll also want to use our spontaneous spoken language as well. So we won't always be able to find exactly what we want to say in the moment on AAC, like, for example, oops, we dropped it. That is very spontaneous, and we're not going to be able to find that fluidly on the AAC. So we still want spoken language to be in the mix. And we value and validate conventional and unconventional modes of communication. So all of that multimodal communication we're going to be interested in. We assume that a child does understand, but we can use visual supports where needed. And AAC on an iPad is an amazing visual support to use. We assume that they will learn, so they won't know how to use the AAC initially, but we are here to join with them on that journey. And we learn from them, so we notice what they're doing, and we will definitely learn some new pages or words or ways of using language through the AAC. So people sometimes have misgivings about using AAC, and I think this comes down to just a little bit of internalized ableism. So just like we may have misgivings about somebody using wheelchairs or adaptations, and then we have to challenge that internal resistance. It's the same with AAC. So particularly digitized voices with iPads, sometimes people say, oh, it sounds weird, it sounds robotic. It's complicated, people are overwhelmed to learn it, and they sometimes are worried about a child looking different. So we just have to challenge that. Why are we worried about that? Is there a problem with people looking different? And I would argue not. We're all different, we're all unique. So we are presuming potential. We presume that a child has the capacity to learn an AAC system. And that's the least harmful assumption, because I've certainly come across scenarios where speech and language therapists have said, oh, I just don't think they're ready. And now in my practice, I would never say that, because I think it's just worth a try. And using AAC can transform everyone's attitude towards a child. So I see this over and over again. When the people around that child see them using their AAC and engaging, they suddenly see them as a communicative being, which is really sad because they should have done from the start. But it does really change people's perceptions that they see this child wanting to communicate. And when the child knows that we presume their potential, they trust us more as communication partners and they communicate more. So introducing AAC usually results in more communication multimodally across the board. Children will just show us more and more of their communication. When might AAC be helpful for a child? So if they have limited speech, if they have unreliable speech, and what I mean by that is in moments of dysregulation, they might not be able to use their speech, or the other way round, you only ever hear them using speech when they're very dysregulated, but it's not reliable. They might have very unclear speech. There may be an element of apraxia or dyspraxia, so very unclear. Dysregulation leads to less speech. They've had slow progress with their speech development, and that might even be with speech therapy input, but progress is still slow with speech. We might introduce AAC just to increase communication opportunities, just because we're giving them another modality to express themselves. And we might be offering them symbol-based or text-based options, so they haven't had that opportunity before. And finally, to build literacy skills, because AAC, particularly on an iPad with an on-screen keyboard, gives that ability for them to learn how to type, and that will open up the whole world for them. So I always like to use this reference because sometimes people are worried that AAC will stop a child speaking, and that's not the case. So there is a key research review. Miller, Light and Schlosser is that reference, 2006. And they found from a review of all of the studies in their research base, for 90% of the children, their speech output increased after the introduction of AAC. For 10%, it stayed the same, and no child produced less speech after AAC was introduced. And I think that comes down to success, communication success. So when a child has AAC available, they experience more success, and that just encourages all their modes of communication for them to use those more. So we want to introduce a good AAC system, and there are certain features of AAC systems that make them more robust. So we want an AAC system to have access to core words and fringe words. Core words are the most common words that we use, and they make up about 80% of what we say. It's words like you, me, see, go, here, up, more. So really everyday words that come into whatever the topic we're talking about, we'll see those core words. And then we've got fringe words as well. So they are the words, the more specialised words associated with a particular topic. So things like giraffe, helicopter, pepper. So it might be that your child has really detailed knowledge of certain areas. So say it is dinosaurs, or Thomas trains, or Peppa Pig characters. They would be fringe words. And we want to incorporate those into their AAC system. We want an AAC system that allows a range of communication intentions to be expressed. So not just requesting, not just that PECS language of I want. We want children to be able to express joy or frustration, to share their thoughts and their feelings, to protest and say, I don't like it, and to self-advocate. So it might be self-advocating for their sensory needs or their movement needs, or, when a situation just isn't working for them. A good AAC system will be organised and programmed for language growth. So there'll be a wide vocabulary. We don't want to restrict vocabulary in any way. And also it will have thought about grammar features. So it will allow a child's allow a child to build up from single words and then phrases, short phrases into sentences. And there will also be the capacity to use things like verb tenses and plurals. That might be way in the future, but we want a system that has that capacity. And there will be access to the alphabet because a symbol-based system will only have, 10 or 20,000 symbols available. Whereas if a child can learn to spell, they've got an unending vocabulary potentially. They can create new words and they can type out new words that they've only just heard or read. A good AAC system will consider motor planning. Motor planning is where buttons have consistent locations. So if you think about your phone, you know exactly where email is, or text messaging, or WhatsApp, or Instagram. You don't have to think about where that button is. And if you ever accidentally rearrange your icons, you know how annoying that is, that suddenly you can't find them. AAC is the same. So we want the same word, if it's across different pages, to be in the same place. And it needs to be editable because we want to personalize it. We want to add your child's favorite things and phrases and words. And we want to be able to back it up because we don't want to lose all that hard work once we have personalized it. So we want to think about, when we're personalizing, what sort of language is your child drawn to? Are they drawn to single words? Or do they like richly intonational phrases? So that might be, oops, a daisy. Wow, we did it. I do find that a lot of my neurodivergent children really like this musical type language. And going along with that, they might use lines from songs, even if it's very unclear. It might be something like, that was Head Shoulders. They might use lines from TV programs, and again, it might be unclear, but you might just pick out a word or two, say from Ben and Holly or Daniel Tiger, if you have had exposure to those programs over and over again, which most parents will have done. So we want to model appealing language, and we can program into the AAC these phrases. We will want to keep what's already there in the app. So try not to delete words, particularly from the home screen or the folders that are already there, because this will grow with your child. And even though they're not using those folders at the moment, there will come a time when you do want to use those folders. So try not to remove anything, but you can add to what's already there. So try adding those favourite lines from songs or stories. So say you've got a child who loves Julia Donaldson books, you might add some phrases from The Highway Rat or from Zog. You might add some phrases from their favourite TV programmes or movies. So I've got a child that I'm working with at the moment who uses lines from things like Inside Out, and The Croods, and she uses those really communicatively with real humour. So we've programmed those into her AAC. And we want to mix and match those with what's already on the app. So those core and fringe words that are already on the app, we're going to add our personalised phrases to those. And we're really wanting to make this fun. So note what language your child finds appealing, what really gets their attention and makes them smile or laugh, and use that. So just thinking about communication intentions, why do we communicate? Do we start with requesting? I would argue no, children don't start with requesting. Their impulse is just to connect with another human being, and to share the moment. So we want to start there with our AAC. I often start with some phrases to express joy. So I might wait until a child is doing something that they find absolutely delightful. It might be bouncing on a trampoline, or swinging, or collecting their favourite items, or playing with, their dinosaurs or trains or blocks, and you can see they're having a great time. And I might model a phrase like, "This is fun." I like it. And I get real success with that with AAC. Starting there rather than requesting makes it fun. So, just to talk about those communication intentions other than requesting, we communicate to share joy, to express ideas, to protest is really important. So, having some phrases on the AAC to say, I don't like it, that's wrong, or give me space to describe something, or like that was too loud, or oh, I'm all wet is really helpful. And you will have in a robust AAC system, you will have those single words to give those basic concepts of wet, dry, dirty, clean, etc. So they are on there. You might want to make those into phrases if you've got a child who loves phrases. We communicate just to check in with each other sometimes, like love you, or you okay? To manage transitions, so a couple of useful phrases are let's go or it's time to go. To negotiate, so you might have some phrases like not yet, I need more time. And to regulate, so to express sensory needs like I need to move, want to bounce, need to spin, where's my fidget toys? And to self-advocate. So phrases like I can do it myself, or it's all too much. So I've got this little video which I think just demonstrates a few of our underlying principles. So this is a parent playing with their child. We're in the very early days of AAC, and we're actually using a paper-based book on this video with phrases, but the principles are just the same as with iPad AAC. This parent is brilliant at making it fun. So her daughter here has some big shiny sequins, which are very appealing. And the mum has had an idea to make that even better by making those sequins jump on the trampoline. So she's just got that idea that we need to make this fun. She is modeling using the book without any expectation that her child will do anything in response. And she's just going with the flow. So you'll see on the video, actually, the child doesn't want to use this book at the moment. And the parent is just going with the flow and accepting that that's fine. So we're just lightly offering AAC. We're not insisting on AAC. So let me just start that video now. Steady. It's amazing! It's my favourite! What's that? Pretty. Steady. Oh, we're having so much fun. I like this. And I just wanted to show that video first because that's a really common experience when we introduce AAC, that a child will push it away or not show particular engagement. So I wouldn't want you to be discouraged if that's what happens to you, because that is so common. This parent is really respecting that choice in the moment. The child is allowed to push it away, and we'll just lightly offer it again in another moment. And with this sort of, it's just another tool to offer. If there's not too much pressure to use it, children start just showing a little bit more curiosity around it. So you'll see them just maybe looking at the corner of their eye at it. And it might take, weeks or even months of modelling before a child obviously engages. So just don't be dispirited or discouraged if that's your experience. Just carry on, just lightly modelling it. It's lighthearted and it's fun. There's absolutely no pressure. And then this is after a few weeks of modelling with another child. So I've got a radiator behind this table. This is in my therapy room. And the child has noticed that radiator is hot. And it's not too, just to reassure you, it's not so hot that he's going to burn himself, but it is nice and hot. And so we're again using paper-based AAC. We've got a describing page, and there's a message on there saying, "That's hot." Um, and I've just modelled that phrase to him. We've felt the radiator. I've modelled, "That's hot." And he is starting to show real interest in the AAC now. He was very similar to the previous child initially, like not particularly looking at it, sort of tolerating us modelling phrases, but now he's really showing this engagement. And then he moves on and we do something else. So we might not use the AAC in the next activity that he chooses. We might just use some spoken language modelling. So it's just a light offering of AAC alongside all of the other things that you're doing. Right, so let's have a look at the specific apps. So with this campaign to provide AAC for children, there are two apps that you can choose from. So there is Grid for iPad, which is that green icon, and there is Proloquo to Go, which is the owl icon. And I'll just take you through the different features. These are both robust apps, and I thoroughly recommend both of them because they're really well designed. But you might have an inherent preference after you've seen the sort of user interface. So, Grid for iPad. It's a suite of different vocabulary. So you've got so much choice with Grid for iPad. They have both symbol-based and text-based options. So if your child is already spelling, you might want to go for text-based. And I will show you an example of a child spelling later on in this presentation. The brilliant thing about Grid is there's also games and books and literacy type activities. There's number activities. So it's not just AAC for communication. You've also got some other really nice learning resources on there. It's UK based, so the vocabulary is already set up from the start with the words that we use, so our references and relevant to our cultures. So you won't find sort of Americanized vocabulary like graham crackers or pretzels on there. It will be very much, fry up or curries and things that are relevant to our culture. The two vocabulary packages that I use a lot. The first one is called Voco Chat, and that's brilliant for phrase-based communication. It does also have single words, so there is that capacity to build word plus word phrases and sentences, but it's a really nice conversational package, and I will show you what I mean by that later. And then the other one that I use a lot is Supercore, and that is a core word and fringe word designed package, and that is great for grammar development. So Grid is really good value. It's easy to edit and you can import features from different packages. So if you want a calculator for your child or a clock or a timer, those are really easy to put into the AAC. There's also this great feature called Classroom Bookshelf, and within that, there are videos of people reading books. So it might be from BBC iPlayer, from CBeebies, someone reading The Highway Rat, for instance, or The Gruffalo, and you can put some phrases or some words around that so that your child can join in with that. So this is Voco Chat. This was one of the packages that I was saying I use a lot. So the home page looks like this, and you would click into these different buttons and that would open out new pages. So within the I want button, which is green at the top there are pages for all different things to play with, like bubbles and balloons and blocks, sand, water, all of those sensory things, and also everyday activities. So there's things like like cooking and gardening. In the I feel section, you've got those sort of feeling words to express how a child might be feeling. You've also got the I think section is all about what we can see and hear and feel and taste. We've got quick words, we've got chat phrases, we've got personalised phrases. So it's just a brilliant chatty package. This is an example of one of those activity pages. So this is the baking page, and you can see there's some really nice mix and match phrases and single words there. So we might choose, we might say, put in the bowl, put in oven, bake it, stir it, I choose that bowl. So really nice opportunities to model some mix and match phrases. This is the song page, and obviously you can personalise this with your child's favourite songs, and I will show you how to do that later on in the presentation. I really like that VocoChat has thought about what does a child need to feel safe in the world. And for a neurodivergent child, that is just so important that they can advocate and express their needs. So there's some really nice pages like this one where they've got the ability to say things like, I want to stop, I want to do something else. It's too hard or it's too easy. That's just one example of one of those pages. And then this is Supercore. So Supercore is a slightly more complex array, as you can see. So there's more buttons to the page. And you've got core words, the everyday words on the home page. So those are those words that are to the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, which are those turquoise folders, you can see that they're folders because they've got a little black triangle. They open out into other pages. So from the home page, you can make phrases like, I want to go, or it can come, or something like that, or you can come. So you can make some really nice phrases just from the home page. And then we can go into topics, and you can see there's a whole range of topic pages that we can go into. I'm just going to show you animals, and then we've got subcategories of animals. So we've got farm animals, wild animals. I'm going to show you water animals. And if you do want some phrases alongside these single words, you can program phrases. So I've programmed some little phrases along the bottom so that we can have those mix and match whole phrases alongside single words. And the reason that phrases can be really useful is they just sound a bit more natural. So the button speaks that whole phrase. I love the colours. And that's really useful in the early days of AAC, because if we're doing word plus word, as in each button is one word, it can just sound a bit stilted. So to be able to say something like, I love the colours, we would have to go back to the home page and press I love the, and then go into another page for colours. So I really like having some ready-made phrases on each page in the early days of AAC. Supercore has some great grammar features. So for example, if you press want from the home button, and then it's got a magic wand button, if you press the magic wand, it will give you all of these options for grammar. So you can change the tense of the verb. If it's a describing word, an adjective, you can add these modifiers. So say it's big, you can say bigger, biggest. It wouldn't work with bigly, but it would with some adjectives. And you can add, say, an S ending to pluralize a noun so that ball becomes balls. So yeah, you've got lots of options there. You've also got a whole section for personalised phrases, so you can really go to town with personalising and program that to say, I love pylons, or whatever that child's enthusiasm is. And maybe they can do some information sharing or info dumping here, so they can share their knowledge of a certain topic. So in the early days, I just want to stress the importance of exploring. So this is a child that I work with, and she's just having a lovely explore here. Sometimes people have dismissed this in the past, that they're just stimming on the device. It's not just stimming, and that sort of suggests that stimming's a bad thing, which is it's not. This is valid. It's babble, it's joyful, it's fun, and it's how this child is learning all about her package.
Tomato, 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 beans, tomato, 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 tomato.
Oh, I like the sound of tomato.
Tomato, 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 pepper. Tomato, 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 tomato.
And you can see she's learned how to use that sentence strip at the top. So if she presses the sentence strip, it will put it all together. And she's delighted by that ability to create long strings of words. So that was the first step for her with engagement, and she's flown since then. So just to come back to our foundational principles, we're modelling without expectation that a child will need to do anything in response. It's a light sprinkling of AAC modelling alongside our spoken language. So we will still use spoken language. We'll try not to talk over the iPad or the talker, and we will give space for just quiet and silence so that that child will be able to process our language. But we're doing both of those modalities. So personalising the pages, I thought it would be useful just to show a page that I've personalised. So this was for the child that you just saw in the last video. She absolutely loves sparkly things. Glitter is one of her favourites. The teacher asked if I could make a glitter page, and this is what I did. So she uses VocoChat. I'm really wanting to offer mix and match phrases, so a mixture of single words but also phrases. And this page works really well. So I will model some of these phrases as she is playing with the glitter. And I really sort of watched what she was doing with glitter so that I could program the appropriate language onto there. So she absolutely loves sprinkling it, gathering it together, and feeling it. So I wanted to reflect that in the language that I was offering. And just to say, AAC is a bit like our home or our house. It is never finished. We'll always make tweaks and changes. So a child will develop new interests or skills or context for communication. They might start forest school, they might start playing the guitar, and we will want to add language around that. So it will grow. I'm going to show you a video just showing the basic editing in Grid now. I'll be doing the same for Proloquo in a moment, but I just want to show you how easy it is to edit this package. I'm going to show you how to do some basic editing on Grid. So Grid has a whole suite of different vocabulary packages. I'm going to show you VocoChat, but the principles are exactly the same for whichever vocabulary package you use. So let's go into food and breakfast. And this one actually has quite a lot of options for breakfast, but I'm a breakfast person, so I want even more. So to go into edit mode, we go to these three dots at the top, edit the grids, and I'm going to add, oh, what haven't we got? I'm going to go really obscure here and go scrambled tofu. Whoops. This will be testing the symbols, whether it's got a symbol for this. Oh my goodness, it does as well. So there we go. I just selected the symbol that we wanted. If it didn't have the symbol, you've got the option to find a picture. You can search the symbols, use your photo library. You can do a web search, or you can access your camera. So that's super easy. And there we go. We just hit done, finish editing, test it out, make sure it works. There we go. We've got our very personalised breakfast option. So at first editing it's like with anything, the first few times you do something, it's a bit clunky and you have to sort of make mistakes, but honestly, it gets easier and easier. You will be whizzes at it before you know. You might want to create a new page. So this next video is how to create a new page. I'm going to show you how to make a new page of vocabulary if you run out of space. This is in Grid for iPad in VocoChat, but this could be the same whether you're in VocoChat or Supercore. The principles are the same. So let's get to the page where we've run out of space. So say we've filled these buttons and we need some more programs on there. We want to make a whole new page. So I'm going to make this into a more button here. Go into edit mode by going on the three dots, edit grids. We're going to change the appearance of this button so it's going to say more. And we want the symbol to be the right symbol. So find picture, symbols, and find that auto content so that it matches the rest of the package. Now we need to add a command so that it jumps to a new page. So we're going to select add command and then jump to, and let's select a grid to copy. So press copy grid and let's choose the type of grid. I'm going to choose that one, which is a whole blank one. And I'm going to call that more TV. Press done. Then we can follow that jump to go to that new page. And there we go. We've got a whole new page to work with. So now we could edit the individual cells and add something like Paw Patrol on there. Let's just do that to finish it off. Sorry about my clock. Paw Patrol. If we need to do a web search, we can. We can select an image from there. Done. Finish editing. There we go. And let's just check that that all works. There we go. And then we probably want to make sure that all of our precious edits can't be lost. So we might want to hide those three buttons at the top, those three dots at the top, to stop anybody accidentally changing anything. And this is how to do that. So we might want to stop other people from editing the package for iPad. And if we do, we go into our settings on our iPad, we choose the apps and then go to grid. And then we turn off the options in the menu bar. When we go back into grid, the grid dots at I realised the audio was very quiet there, but hopefully you could see what I was doing. I was going out of the app and into settings, going into the apps from the settings, and then switching off the option to edit. And then the three dots disappear, so you can't go into edit mode. Right, now let's have a look at Proloquo to Go. So Proloquo to Go is also a very well-designed vocabulary. It's called Crescendo, and it also has core words available on every page. You go into different pages to find those fringe words around particular topics. There are lots of options with the grid size and the layout. So you could have quite a small layout. I would say don't go any smaller than, say, 5 buttons by 4 buttons, because otherwise there's more navigation to do. And a sweet spot, I would say, is about 20 to 40 buttons per page is a nice sort of range. So don't go too with the buttons too big per page. It's got lovely templates for new pages, which I'll show you in a minute, where your core buttons are already made for you in a new page. And it has consistent motor planning. So the buttons are in the same place for each page. So words like I and you will be in the same place on each page. The keyboard isn't great. So it comes with an ABC keyboard. I'll show you that in a moment. You can change it to the standard Apple QWERTY one, but it doesn't have any prediction like Grid does. So the symbols won't pop up as you're trying to spell a word. This is what the homepage looks like. And I would say don't mess with the layout because it's very well designed with motor planning. And when you go into another page, you will have that consistent layout with the core words. So you can see those orange and pink and blue buttons are all in the same place as the home button. So this is an example of a pre-made page that's already there. So I think this is different activity options. But you can also personalize pages and make new pages. So this is one that I've made around my treasures. So I've made some phrases like these are special, line them up, gather them together alongside some different single word options. So we've got glitter, sequins, buttons, ribbons, beads, and you can see there's plenty of space so that you can add more buttons. So how to change this ABC keyboard, this is the standard one that it comes with, but you just go into settings. You'll see that in a video in a minute, how to find the settings button. It's like a little cog. And you choose keyboard button and you change it into a typing view, and then you will get this standard Apple keyboard instead, which I would recommend. Just because a QWERTY layout is what most people are familiar with, and we want children to be able to access a standard QWERTY layout. Right, onto a video. I hope that the audio is a bit better on this one, but this is just the overview of the package. So this is the home screen of ProLoquo. It's a really well designed vocabulary. So we've got the core words on the home page, and core words are the words that we use most often. So they make up types of words like pronouns, so I and you. And then we've got basic verbs, so things like do, have, want, like, need. Prepositions like on and here. We've got some questions at the top there. And we've got some describing words here like good and bad and different. And then we've got topic folders. So you can see these ones look like folders. They've got sort of tab at the top. And if we go into there, we still have this, the core words, some of the core words here, which is great for motor planning because they don't move around, they stay in the same place. And it also means that we can combine them with other words. So if I just go into clothing, say, we can make phrases from here like I, hot, out, on. Now, don't expect your child to do that initially. They'll probably just want to explore the vocabulary and do single presses at first, but this is a long-term journey. So we can start to model 2 words together, 3 words together. And we can also personalize this so that we've got whole phrases in a button, and I will show you that in a separate video. So if you couldn't hear very well, I was starting from the home page and just showing you those core words, and then going into one of the topic pages, which is clothes here. You can see what I didn't say in that video is you can see some of those buttons have a little corner on them. So if you look at I and is and can on that top row, it's got a little corner, and that's because it's got grammar options. So if you hold down that button, it will give you some grammar options to say change the verb tense, or add prefixes or suffixes on. So that's a really nice grammar feature of ProLoquo to go. Okay. This is how to edit a page. So this video is just showing you the basic how to add a word or a phrase into one of those pages. I have identified that our child really likes phrases. They're drawn to the musicality of language, and single words don't particularly interest them at this stage. So we might want to add some phrases into their vocabulary. So we're going to go into edit mode, which is this pencil button down here. And you can see it's popped up with a potential new cell here. If we wanted to add a folder, jump to another page, we would add a folder here on the right side, but we just want a button. And I am going to type, let's, oh, it's really close page, so I want a phrase that reflects what we're doing when we're getting dressed. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to press done. Let's just test our new button.
Let's put it on.
And you might already have some phrases that you use, and I would encourage you to personalize this and put the phrases on that you use already. You could even have song lyrics on there, and you might press the button. Say you have got a song for this.
Let's put it on.
Let's put it on. Let's put it on. So you might then sing it. We're just wanting this to be as fun as possible and sort of as appealing, and offer the language that is appealing to your child. So really do think about what is going to sound fun for them. So if you couldn't hear that very well, that was just to show you how you can add a new button, whether you want to put a single word or a phrase on there. We're aiming to add language that your child will find appealing. So it might be a line from a song. If you've got a song that you sing in that situation, putting on clothes, then add that line from a song as well. This is how to make a new folder. I'm going to show you how to make a whole folder. So let's go back to edit button. And we're going to select the new folder. So it's the one on the right. We could link to an existing folder or duplicate one, but we're going to make a new one. And then Proloquo very helpfully come up with some templates to choose from. I'm going to have a look at the phrases. I think that's going to work for me. So I'm going to choose the phrases template. This folder is going to be called treasures. That's okay, done. And then we will click it. We can go into that new page, and you can see it's already partially made for us with the core words, which is brilliant. And then I can start adding buttons to that. I'm going to make this phrase based. So I'm going to add some phrases, and I'm going to say, these are special. Lovely, it's come up with a symbol that I like there. If you didn't like the symbol, you can click on it, you can choose another symbol, and you can take a picture with the camera, or you can choose a picture from your photo library. So it's as easy as that. I can carry on adding some little phrases there if I want to. So I could put collect them together, or whatever phrases this child might find appealing to describe what they do when they're engaging in this activity. And it really is as easy as that. And then we just click done, and there we go, we've got a whole new page. So yes, that's how to add some phrases, or rather how to add a new page using those templates, really helpful templates. And then you'll probably also want to remove the option to edit, just to prevent any accidental overriding of your editing. And this video shows you how to do that. And you probably want to hide the option to add set just chart. I don't want them to accidentally change their package too much at this step. So go into this cogwheel, and we want to turn off edit mode first of all, so that pencil has now disappeared. Then we will go into the general settings of the iPad and go down to your apps, find Proloquo, and turn off the options button. And now when we go back into Proloquo, you've now not got that settings button either, so nobody can accidentally mess with the padding. So hopefully you can see there, that's how you turn off the pencil for the edit mode, and you turn off the settings by going into your general settings on your iPad. And this is how you back up with Proloquo. So to back up in Proloquo, we go onto this settings button, And then we are going to go to something. And you've got the option of backup all users now, backup Ali. Now I'm going to back up Ali. So if I had multiple packages for different children, it would be backup all users. And you can see you've also got the option of backing it up into your Dropbox or your Google Drive. It's telling me that I've backed up, which is great. So we are all safe. And just to say, it's just as easy to back up on Grid. You go into those three dots and go into the settings, and then it will give you options for backing up on there. Now we're getting towards the end. Thank you for your attention so far. And we are on literacy support. So we want a good QWERTY keyboard to support literacy. I've talked about that with ProLoquo, the slight disadvantage that it doesn't have some of the features of Grid, but you can use the standard QWERTY keyboard. In Grid, it's in either package, if you can't find a word in the symbol package, then go onto the keyboard and spell it, because that's a great everyday strategy of teaching a child what we can do in that situation. And every time you do that, you will be helping support their literacy development. Prediction is really helpful. So it is really nice to start typing a word and then seeing if it pops up. I do find with autistic children especially that they do like to type the whole word, but with the prediction they can see it pop up and they can carry on typing it. They don't have to then click on the prediction. Another literacy support, which I just find so helpful, is just to turn on subtitles when you're watching TV together, or turn on closed captions on YouTube, because that's often a way that children acquire literacy. And this is a young man that I was working with. This, I think, is our second session. And just to show you how quickly he got the idea of using that on-screen keyboard. So he's using a book, which is Eric Carle's amazing Book of Animals. And he's then typing the names of animals. And not just any old animal. He is typing Rocky Mountain Goat here. And in that session, he typed 35 other obscure animals. He was converting the uppercase in the book to the lowercase on the keyboard, so just showing how clever he was with literacy already. And the only letters he was getting slightly confused with is the I and the L, because they looked the same. And just to show how clever he was already, and the AAC gave him a mode to show how clever he was. I was talking about a baby wallaby, and he went on to he's using Supercore. He went into the animals page, found baby animals, and selected Joey, just to show. I mean, we didn't know that he'd been exploring it so much, but this is the delight of AAC, that children can then show how clever they are. So I'll just show this video of him starting to type. Okay, make it speak. Let's try. Rocky Mountain Goat! So you can see how pleased he was with what he'd done. And it was slow initially with the typing. That took a while, but he's sped up. And now he is actually editing his AAC and accessing a whole world of learning because he can type. This was a funny situation we had. So he quite likes drawing animals on the whiteboard, and then I have to guess what it is. And he'd drawn an animal with this sort of mane, or, you know, this thing around its head. So I'd been guessing lion and stegosaurus, and I didn't get it in our session. He had spelt out PON, so he had an idea of the spelling, but you know, I was then guessing pond skater and things like that, but obviously not getting it. So later in the day, he'd gone home, and his mum just sent me this little video where he had been able to say, "This is what I was trying to draw." And I love that he just has that ability to clear up misunderstandings now because he can type. So we're on to our final leg here, just a bit of troubleshooting. So sometimes parents are worried about screen time, and there's a lot of stuff around about should we limit screen time. I don't class AAC on an iPad as screen time. So it's a very different tool. It's a communication tool, and it's not got that addictive quality of keeping children focused on it again and again and again for reel after reel. So it's not classed as screen time. You can have your separate screen time, but AAC, we want them to have access to that throughout the day. And what if they push the AAC away? Well, they will do from time to time, and particularly in the early days, they're more likely to. And that's fine. We respect their choices. We're not going to push it and make it a chore for them. And as long as we don't make it a chore and put pressure on them, they are far more likely to engage with it. What if a child is just stimming, air quotes? I think we've already talked about that is it's a really valuable learning experience for them to go through and explore their package. They might go on to other apps, and it's an individual solution for each child. So in the past, I have used guided access. I don't do that so much now because I do feel as though children use other apps communicatively as well. So they might go onto YouTube Kids and play a particular song, and that's a signal to us. They love that song, so maybe we need to add that song onto their AAC. But depending on whether that's problematic, if it is problematic, you can use guided access, which locks them into that app. It's a triple click on the home button to do that. I'm not actually sure on the newest iPads how you do that, but you can Google that easily because the newest iPads don't have a home button. And what if teaching staff think there's too much on the AAC, that there's too much vocabulary and they want to limit it? Don't don't limit the vocabulary, because it's going to grow with this child, and we want them to have a huge access to vocabulary. You can just focus on, you know, 6 or 7 pages initially, but we wouldn't lock it down so that they can't access other pages, because we want them to explore and learn. So back to our underlying principles, we've talked about presuming potential. They won't know how to use it initially, but they can learn. We want to make it fun. We want to model without expectation. We will go with the flow, whatever they're into. We will go there with them. We want to personalize it with appealing language. We're thinking beyond requesting. We're wanting them to use all the different communication intentions. We're exploring and making mistakes. That goes for us too. We will make mistakes, and that's really important that we do, because we'll learn. When we can't find a word, we can try spelling it. And we're looking out for literacy, so we're offering access to that keyboard. So if you need support with editing, you probably will. I still do need support with editing every now and again. If you're using Grid for iPad, go to the Smartbox webpage. Think Smartbox is their webpage, and there's someone in the corner of the screen that can help you. They're brilliant. They can talk you through, and they'll then send you a transcript of that chat so that you know how to do it next time. Assistiveware, also brilliant. They've got a whole load of resources on how to edit and also how to implement AAC. If you want inspiration from Instagram, if you're an Instagram kind of person, I'm on Instagram as Ali_Batty_speech. I also love the AAC coach, and then another option, Caitlin Mulcahy, SLP. And that is the end of this webinar. Well done for making it to the end. I realised that was long. I hope you had your fidget toys ready and were able to move around a little bit. But thank you for your attention, and I hope that was useful.